Before the success stories, the progress, there was you. You who made a choice to grow, to inspire, to overcome your own challenges. At NASM, we're in service of your limitless potential because when you keep growing, we all get stronger. And we'll never stop making your journey our mission. Join the fitness leader. Become a fitness leader. Become a certified personal trainer.
You're listening to the NASM-CPT Podcast with Richey, winner of the Share Care Emmy Award for Social Storytelling and the official podcast of the National Academy of Sports Medicine.
Hey, y'all, and welcome to the NASM-CPT Podcast. My name is Richey, and today I'm going to have a conversation with you. It's a conversation that it's weird, right? Like, it's like a college professor saying college isn't for everyone, and the university is like, what are you saying? Tell them college is for everyone because we want people to go to college, and you work for a college. All right, with that being said, I work for NASM. And I don't think that everyone should follow their passion. And I have said this for a long time, and I've tried it. This is like a mentorship talk that I've had with people. I want you to be a personal trainer. I think it's great, but I got to be honest, it can be very, very challenging for some people to do. And just because it seems like it would be really cool or you're very passionate about it, you being passionate about something doesn't ensure any success in anything that you do. There are a lot of people who are passionate. There are people like, I want to be a model, or I want to be an actor or an author or a poet or a performer or a professional athlete or a news anchor or an artist. And I do poetry, pottery. And how do you do that? How do you make a living? Like, you can follow your passion, but you also have to make a living. And so I love, Scott Galloway says in his book, The Algebra of Wealth, follow your passion on the weekends. He says, don't necessarily follow your passion, follow your talent and do your passions on the weekend. Now, this is in reference specifically now to personal trainers. I love it. I think it's great. But I get people sometimes that reach out and they are in the middle of places where it's hard. It's challenging. There are not a lot of people that work with personal trainers. There are very few gyms, and the gyms they have a few people that are trainers there, and it's really hard to get a job. And or you get a job as a personal trainer and there are a few trainers on staff, and maybe there's one trainer that's crushing it and everybody else is just kind of waiting for somebody to come along, and this person shouldn't have time for any more clients, and maybe I can pick up one. So everyone's fighting over the scraps, and that can be really, really challenging. Now, I'll say this. Number one, I think early success in any passion field can make you stay longer, and sometimes stay longer than you likely should. And I got early success in personal training where, you do these kind of complimentary sessions for new people that enter into corporate gyms. And I did, I think, my second or third one, and I sold a 10-pack, and they were like, that's crazy. It's your first week here and you already sold a 10-pack. And I was like, is that good? And they're like, yeah, that's great. That's incredible. And I was like, oh, I'm so good at being a personal trainer. I hadn't trained a session yet. I just sold the package. I didn't train anything. And at the time, I didn't really know how to train, but I knew how to have fun. And I thought, let me do fun workouts and workouts that I enjoy. And I agree. And I think to this day, you should have a delightful amount of novelty in your workout. Now, I know some people that all they do is create novel workouts, and that's very hard to make progress when you're like, my trainer does something new every day. That's cool, but you'll never get stronger or better at necessarily at squats or deadlifts or, bench press or pull-ups if all you do is create variety. But your desire for something new will always be attended to. And that's okay, I guess, for some people. But you guys know that I like programming and I like success. And if their version of success is just being entertained while exercising, then maybe that's it. And maybe that's who I was early on. But, that doesn't make you successful. And it's tricky, right? Because you do it and you kind of have this early success where, you're making a few bucks as a low tier trainer. And maybe the place you're working at, it's got several tiers. And so after, I don't know, maybe not even a year, you go to the next level, and maybe not even a year, you top out and you're at the highest level and there's nowhere else to go. You're at the highest level of training. I mean, that's tough. There's not many jobs that they say, okay, after 3 years, you will be paid the most that you will ever be paid working here. And if that doesn't work for you, then sticking with your passion may not be the right choice. You have gone through and you've said, all right, this is great, but now my life is progressing. And now maybe I have a family, maybe I have a kid, I've got a partner, I've got a family member that is ill, and I have a financial responsibility to care for them. And if you're in a place where you haven't elevated your amount of income, where you feel comfortable that you can take care of what you need to take care of, maybe following your passion isn't going to ensure success in the way that you need it. So I do believe that training is a really cool job, but it's still a job. And it may not be the right job for you. Also, I remember training and I loved this because I had a roommate, and still my best friend to this day. And so Tim was working with me at the gym, and he just wasn't getting enough sessions. And so he took on a job, and he was doing like stock or something at a retail store. And he was making like $15 an hour, which is more than the $7 an hour we were making working the floor. And I thought, oh man, he's making $15 an hour. That's really cool. But I was like, maybe I want to do something like that because I need to make more money. And I was like, what would make more money is that if I just trained more and I worked harder at training more, because I was far more passionate about training than I was working in a stock room. And so for me, seeing him leave his passion actually invigorated me. And it made me want to follow what I enjoyed doing even more. So it made me dig deeper and work harder at becoming a more successful personal trainer. Because I thought, well, you can work 40 hours a week there, or you could work 15 hours a week as a trainer and 15 more hours a week than what you're already working. And you would come out financially more on top. And so that to me was like, okay, well, that's maybe 6-7 clients that train a couple times a week. I bet I could do that if I worked hard and reached out and I did the work that I needed to do. But it's tough. It's tough because you're going to follow your passion. And as you follow your passion, another thing that Scott Galloway says in his book, following your passion is Latin for be prepared to be exploited. And what that basically means is, when you get people who are like, I want to do something, I'm really passionate about it, then people can exploit that and be like, oh, you really want this? Well, I'll dangle this carrot in front of you. And you do it because you're passionate about it, not because it makes sense. And so people can exploit that because you want something so badly. And I think that we need to work hard on developing a skill set. And you can be skilled at anything. And once you become good at things, then your passion kind of follows that. You drive towards that. A great quote by one of the greats in American history, Ben Franklin. If you haven't, just go Google Benjamin Franklin quotes, and you will enjoy just a hit after hit of delight. But one of the things that he's been attributed to him, and you've all heard this maxim before, it is, if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. And I think a lot of people just don't make plans to be a good or successful personal trainer. They just want to be a good or successful personal trainer. And that's the same thing in a lot of passion jobs where people don't plan to be a good actor. They just want to be, or they don't plan to be a good artist or a successful artist. They just want to be. So how do you go about planning to be a successful, not just a good personal trainer? Because there are a lot of really good quality personal trainers that make application to personal training, but they don't have a lot of business. And so if you are really good at something, that's one thing. But if you can't convince anybody else that you're good at it, and then you don't do well with the business of personal training, then something that you're really good at may also still not be right for you, because you can be really good at something and not get work in it. And that could underline some other things that are going on in life, or in how you present, or how you are received, and you have to evaluate those things as well. There's Ryan and Richey, researchers, self-determination theory. They talk about 3 components in in motivation, and motivation has a lot of research on these 3 things, and there are a lot of books that have covered these 3 things, and I've covered these 3 things on the podcast in the past, but I think it's a nice time to go back over them. Is that self-determination, or like what motivates you to make progress, are kind of broken down into 3 very specific things that they talk about. It's not the only things, but these are kind of the main components that they talk about. So one is autonomy. And I think being a personal trainer, especially an independent personal trainer, you can be incredibly autonomous. What is autonomy? I will tell it to you through my daughter the first time that I was putting something on her, and she slapped my hand away and said, "I can do it myself." I want to be able to do it myself. I want to be able to lead and guide and be present in a way that works for me, and I'm not adherent to a lot of other people. I have the freedom to make decisions. It's not whether or not you have freedom to show up at work because you get a 7 a.m. client. You got to take the 7 a.m. client. You can't say my self-determination and my autonomy says no 7 a.m. You can do that once you get real successful. So that's like me. I don't usually train after 2 p.m., but I will start early in the morning. So I'm usually a 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. and it's not ever booked all the way through. And so there are a lot of gaps in the day. What are you doing with your gaps in the day? Are you just being passionate, or are you doing something to ensure your success? Because being really happy about being passionate does not ensure success. But you have the autonomy to work on things and to guide yourself into that self-determination that leads you to do what you want to do. I love that. That's some autonomy. Competency is the second thing. Competency. Are you good at what you do? People like to be good at what they do, and being good at what you do is such a strong determinant of motivation. And I think that there are a lot of really good trainers. And there's my dog, Rocky. He's backing me up on this. There are a lot of really good trainers, and they're very competent trainers, and being competent drives motivation. And we want to see that success and motivation. The final thing is autonomy, it's competency, and it's relatedness. And we want to know and be around people that we're related, that have the same types of goals and needs and focuses that we have. And that drives us to do it more. Like when I was first a trainer, we had a really strong group of personal trainers there. And we're still, a lot of us, in contact with each other. We are still friends. And I started training in 2002. And I'm connected with some of those trainers that I was working with, 22 years ago. And that type of relatedness makes you want to show up to work, and it makes you want to be more competent, and it makes you want to grow and have this sense of autonomy and that type of motivation. And I think it's highly valuable. So it's not just about, are you passionate about being a personal trainer? It's cool to be a personal trainer, or it's cool to be an actor. It's cool to be a model. It's cool to be a poet. It's cool. to be a musician. But it doesn't mean you'll be successful just because you like it. But I tell you what you will like, is you'll like stuff that you get good at. And if you want to be a good trainer, then the chances are you're going to be much more successful. And you can really dig into your education. You can really dig into your presentation to your clients and how you work with clients. And if you find that that's still not working, that you're passionate and you believe truly that you're good at it, it still may not be the right thing for you. You can be really good at something and you can live in a small town where people aren't buying into what you're selling, and you're not willing to move from that town or that area into a place that can appreciate your skill set for whatever reason. Then you may need to find something else, because you're still going to make a living. You still got to have a job. And it is a job, but I ain't gonna lie, it's a cool job. It's a cool job. And if you're willing to do the work to be successful at this cool job, then you can. And I encourage that. And I think a lot of that is through not just education, but through our practice of doing it. Anyway, I hope that this helps. And in some ways, it will help some people hang up their training shoes and be like, it's, I listen to this podcast and I realize it's not for me. And there's some people in here, and I'm telling you this, I think it's very important. If you think this is a good idea, right? You want to be a personal trainer, and I'm telling you things that might be discouraging for some people, and you're still like, that's not a problem at all. In fact, if that's what the problems are, then this is going to be a job for me. You got to look into it. You got to consider it. Just like anything, you're going to be an actor, or a model, or a musician. I mean, shoot your shot. You know what I mean? You got to try. And don't stay longer than you need to stay. Sometimes it's actually okay to quit. And sometimes we don't quit soon enough. But sometimes you just look back and say, why didn't I try it? And it's a cool job to try. It's a cool job to do. But just because it's cool doesn't mean it's for you. I hope it helps. Like, subscribe, share with your fitness friends and family, and leave a review. If you've got questions for me, hit me up. You can do so on Instagram at dr.rickricchey, or you can email me, rick.richey@nasm.org. Y'all keep inspiring people to fitness. Thanks for listening. This has been the NASM CPT Podcast.